What up, what up, what up? What's up, chat? What up, y'all? I'm getting chastised for being late. I had to run and pick up my children from school. Sorry, there was a little delay on the return home. Also, I saw Raw was in the middle of the afternoon. I forgot about that. And my son and I were trying to catch a glimpse of the John Cena thing. And then he was like, no, we'll save it for later. So spoilers, let's avoid those throughout this show. Obviously, lots to get to in the NCAA tournament and the like and everything else that I have planned here on the rundown, including the coaches crying about their seeding. But let me start with this contest that I have going on right now, because I'll tease this a few times throughout the show, but I had asked people if they wanted a women's NCAA tournament contest of some sort, and the vote was yes. So I had one put together. It's called Hoopin Havoc. It's my contest. I'm not trying to make any money off it. If I'm being real with you, it's just for fun. But there is a $10 entry fee to make the picks against me. The link is in the description. So as many people as can sign up would be great. You know, we can track the leaderboard here during the show and as the show goes on. But and as the tournament goes on and all those things. But I just thought it'd be fun to do it together. So check out that link in the description. Get signed up. $10 entry fee. There are real cash prizes coming back. So it's not for nothing either. Anyhow, that was that spiel. Let's get on to the rest of the show, which is starting with the coaches complaining. And the coaches complaining were Dawn Staley and Lindsey Gottlieb of USC. Dawn Staley had this to say about the schedule for South Carolina. You know, Dawn is not a fan of not having the number one overall seed in the tournament.
I mean, we're going to play it. You know, obviously it's disappointing. It really is. I'd like to get some feedback on how they came to that conclusion. Because we put together, we manufactured a schedule that, if done right, it should produce the overall number one seed. But I will say this: we're going to make adjustments to our schedule in the future. If the standard is the standard, if that's the standard, then we can play any schedule and get a number one seed.
Any schedule and get a number one seed. You are a number one seed. I mean, let's not act like the South Carolina is not a number one seed in the tournament. They are. They're not the number one overall. Does it matter that much? Come on, Dawn. I mean, it's not like you didn't get the doors blown off you by UCLA and UConn. Yeah, you played a tough schedule, but you got smacked by those two teams, and you lost to Texas. I mean, I think South Carolina is real good. Don't get me wrong, but come on. I mean, that's a, just silly to me. It's just silly. Meanwhile, you also had Lindsey Gottlieb, who shared some other sort of similar sentiment about the seed because they were the fourth overall number one seed.
For me, I never thought I'd be a one seed and feel disrespected, but I thought the committee, I thought there would be very little chance we would be the number 4 overall number one. And so, we've got a big game here on Saturday against UNCG, and we'll handle it accordingly. But you tell me if you think that bracket that we got should have been the one that it was. I can't speak for the players. I think they're excited to play, but this was not on my bingo card to be a little bit, frustrated after being a one seed. And it's not, an arrogance of any kind. I think there's a lot of really good teams, and you got to play the first game in front of you and earn your way from there. And that's what we'll do. But sometimes I don't understand people who make decisions in women's basketball and why they do what they do. And certainly with this committee, I would love to ask some questions.
So are you so significantly better than all the rest of the teams? I would agree that Texas maybe shouldn't have been ranked above some of these teams. Texas was not the most impressive number 1 seed, but okay. Like, to me, Gottlieb there just sounds scared of UConn. That's how that comes across to me. Is she scared of UConn being in the same region? Because that's the issue. That's the way that comes across to me. That's the way that comes across to me. Anyhow, Gino Auriemma did not have the same tact or approach to these things. He sounded like somebody who's been there and is actually confident in his team right now. This is what Gino said.
So what do you think about the bracket? I thought it was great. I mean, I don't think there's any surprises that pop up in these brackets. I mean, you kind of put 2 and 2 together, and you start to realize that there's only so many teams that they can put in certain places, and then after you see one bracket, start the process of elimination. By the time we got to our bracket, we kind of knew the whole bracket by then. So, as I told everybody out there, there's no easy brackets. There's no one bracket that's harder than the others. There's no easy matchups. Somebody's got a tough road. Somebody's got an easy road. It's just, you go where you play. You go where they tell you, and you play who they tell you.
You go where they tell you, and you play who they tell you. Gino Auriemma, guy who's been around the block, been there, done that, gotten it done before, right? He sounds confident in his team. I really don't understand, Dawn Staley's beef, to be real with you. So, okay, so what? You're not the number 1 overall seed. Wow. That's terrible. Whatever shall you do? How can you possibly recover from such a indignation? The number 1 overall seed. I mean, again, they lost to UCLA. They lost to UConn. I mean, get over it. And then Lindsey Gottlieb, I guess you could, I could make the case for them being over Texas for sure. For sure. But beyond that, what is the problem? You're a number 1 seed. Aren't we grasping at straws at that point? I don't know. Sound like she was afraid of UConn. That's the message I get. So, one of the picks available in the contest, by the way, link in the description if you want to join the Robin Lundberg Hoopin Havoc contest, is which number 1 seed will win their game by the most points. So you can look at that and see who might be motivated by everything there. But that was just part of the reaction to the NCAA tournament seeding. And I found it interesting because I it happens every year, I'm sure, but I just don't know what leg these coaches have to stand on or what they're really even complaining about. Disrespect. Are they motivating their teams? Do they find, issue with the region they're in? Is it that big a difference? I don't know. That doesn't really make sense to me. Then you also had the Liberty making the trade for Natasha Cloud. That was announced in the middle of Selection Sunday, where, talk about a news dump for a big trade like that. I did a video earlier on the Liberty and the Fever being the favorites to me now on paper. Those are the 2 best teams, the most talented rosters, at least in the WNBA right now, the Liberty and the Fever. So Cloud goes over to the Liberty and they send some picks the Connecticut Sun way. And, if I'm Marina Mabry, I'm like, oh man, this is some rough sledding. This is a tough situation for me. She's already requested a trade out of there, and now another player is on the way out and done. But of course, Natasha Cloud is happy to be on the way to the Liberty. She provides them with another player to handle the ball when Sabrina Ionescu can then play off the ball. Obviously, the Liberty have a lot of size, a lot of defensive players on that squad. They were already the defending champs. They already arguably had a super team with Brianna Stewart and Ionescu and Fibic and Lainey Hamilton and Jones. So the rich get richer, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're unbeatable. I mean, they probably should have lost the finals to the Lynx last season. And Courtney Vandersloot was there. Courtney Vandersloot was there, and this is a replacement for her. So it's not as if it makes the league unfair or unfairly stacks the Liberty did it through organic team management. Acquiring Fibic alone was just a huge move for them. So the Liberty make that trade. That was another significant piece of news. Unrivaled is winding down tonight. Sort of limped to the finish line a bit because of the injuries that we saw, where you had obviously Nafisa Collier was wound up listed as questionable for the semifinal yesterday. She was listed as questionable, and Angel Reese is out. I think, I want to get an update on Angel Reese's status. I do think Unrivaled is a little hesitant to provide injury updates because they don't want the negative publicity about the injuries, because that's one of the drawbacks, I guess, to the existence. But I wish it was a little bit more transparent in that regard. Nonetheless, crazy to see the Owls, who dominated all season, get eliminated. Then you get a final showdown, and I've said this about Unrivaled from the beginning. I think there's no need to overhype, and there's no need to undercut. And overall, I've rooted for the league. It will be nice to see how it finishes off, how they build from it, where they go from here. Nafisa Collier named the MVP. Angel Reese, the defensive player of the year. Those were just some of the big takeaways from the initial season, right? And then lastly, Caitlin Clark being left off the list. ESPN put out a YouTube video yesterday, and it was titled, "Is Caitlin Clark the greatest women's college basketball player of all time?" That was the title of the video. And then they had her in the top 5 of the video. And despite having her in the top 5, they remove her before the video is over. So they're dragging you along, getting you to click in with Caitlin Clark. And, then kind of disrespecting her in a way to bump her off that way. Because here's the thing. The whole idea that you have to win a college championship, I've never really, on the men's side of things, NBA players have never been judged that way. I've never seen people go back and say, oh, they didn't win a championship in college and hold it against them, right? No one celebrates Carmelo Anthony as one of the greatest players ever because he won a championship at Syracuse when other players didn't. And no one argues, is anyone arguing that Mario Chalmers was better in college than Steph Curry because he won, but Curry didn't at Davidson? And then they just completely ignore the context of where Caitlin Clark played. Not to say her teammates were bums, but what did she play with? One WNBA player her entire tenure at Iowa? I think. One WNBA player, I believe, versus these stacked squads. How many pros did Brianna Stewart play with? Weren't her and Collier on the same team at one point? Gabby Williams? I mean, if Play the game where if you swap them, if Caitlin Clark was on those teams, do they win? Most likely, right? And if those players are on Caitlin Clark's team, do they take Iowa to the national championship game 2 years in a row? That's got to count for something too. It's like, they do it to LeBron all the time. LeBron gets to the finals and it's like he loses in the finals and it's somehow a negative that he got a team that had no business being in the finals to the finals, which I always thought was an asinine argument also. Where it gets to the point where ring culture and championship culture just becomes too prevalent in the discourse and the discussion. Where all other context is wiped away and really just an excuse to, not have Caitlin Clark up at the top. Because when you look at leading the nation in points and assists and taking that Iowa team to back-to-back national championships and breaking the all-time NCAA scoring record and revolutionizing the way that the sport is covered and thought of from that point forward, I think she earned a spot in the top 5. But if you're not going to put her in the top 5, you don't have to sell the video around her. That just goes to show you need her to get people to watch the video. Trust me, I know about getting people to watch a Caitlin Clark video. Got a pretty strong track record at that. Pretty strong track record at that. But those were the topics I had on the rundown. Coaches crying, complaining about their March Madness seeding. Liberty loading up with the Natasha Cloud trade. Unrivaled season coming to a conclusion tonight. And Caitlin Clark being left off the top 10. You guys can weigh in on whatever you want, of course. Member chats, super chats, go up first. Let's start with Kevin Zwicker. Sign up so I can beat you or can't beat you. Also, shout out to Angel for winning Defensive Player of the Year in Unrivaled. He's referencing the Robin Lundberg Hoopin Havoc contest. You can get in there in the description below. We can track the leaderboard. I'll mention it obviously throughout the show and as things go along. The more people who are a part of the show that wind up playing, obviously the better. I think that brings us along. I had people say they wanted to be in a contest. So there you have it. It's just a $10 entry fee. Make sure you enter before the end of the show. Let me know when you do sign up. Let me know what your usernames are, all those things. And the shout out to Angel for winning Defensive Player of the Year in Unrivaled. AJ says, only woman to ever win Unrivaled Defensive Player of the Year. Her story. AJ is just an instigator. Just an instigator. Stern 12, a.k.a. Chris. SC gets the best bracket and complains, just stop. Yeah, I mean, South Carolina's road to the championship. It's not even, I don't know what Dawn Staley, this whole underdog thing with South Carolina. Does anybody consider them an underdog? Where does that come from? Where do they get off with that? Wild. Just come on. There's no way you actually consider yourself underdogs or think you're actually disrespected or anything of the sort. Just comes off it's almost ego in a sense, right? I don't know. There's complete chaos going on upstairs. Make my way back up to the top of the chats. Michael says, Liberty versus Fever. Is this the matchup of the season? I mean, I think every time they match up, it's going to be a big deal. But I mean, yeah, the matchup of the finals, it could be. Can't rule out the Minnesota Lynx. I mean, they're motivated. They've got a great coach. They've got a great player leading them. There's no reason to just dismiss them. Obviously, the Aces have some of the pedigree I want to see how the Aces do when it comes to replenishing their role players. And they basically did a 1-to-1 swap, Jewel Lloyd and Kelsey Plum. So we'll see how that shakes out for them as well. Guy Marshall says CC went back-to-back finals without any All-Americans against teams loaded with All-Americans. Yeah, I mean, people just ignore, because there's, I don't know. Is it because Caitlin was pushed so hard and therefore people are upset because, she got proclaimed the GOAT before she did anything else? Or the dynamics of that are always so strange to me, because she didn't go to like a blue blood school, right? So is that part of it? Is that a big part of it? The fact that she didn't go to UConn or one of these programs that are the factories for producing? I don't know. The white thing doesn't make complete sense to me, because there have been other great white players. I mean, Breanna Stewart is white. She's number 1 on the list, on ESPN's list. So I think it's just because she's too popular. I really think that's mainly what it is. She's too popular. She blew up too big, got too much attention relative to everybody else, and there's backlash and resentment towards that, and then you find things to point that at. Because there's so much stupid nonsense. Like, I'm not getting into the Asia Wilson crap. I've seen it, trust me. And I'm just, I'm not wasting my time. First of all, I'm not going back through someone's entire digital footprint to attempt to unearth anything that might be embarrassing or serve an agenda that they even said at 15 years old or whatever the case is. I don't think that's fair to do to anyone. Number 2, I don't think it makes anybody any better than the people that were doing the criticizing in the first place to then jump onto this aspect of things and be like, look at you, you're doing, like, just because they did it. Like, we all know it was garbage and nonsense, right? Like, it was garbage and nonsense the way people tried to single out Caitlin Clark and her fans and the Fever fans and make it as if it was some sort of problem that was plaguing the league when it was actually the best thing that ever happened to the sport. Like, we all know that was garbage and nonsense. So I just would rather be done with that period than play these stupid games. And, I want to be fair to everybody, even if I don't like some of the things they do or say. AJ says, Robin, I must have missed your review on F1 Australian GP. You must have been on pins and needles waiting to see if Lando could get the win. Forza Ferrari. What's that last part? Is MCL arena car? Got me with that last part, but my review, I thought it was excellent. AJ, pins and needles. Yep. Pins and needles. All over. AJ's the man. AJ, you in the contest yet? I'm going to see on the leaderboard. Remember, the link is in the description. Let me get more signups, please. Just a $10 entry fee. We will track whether you can beat me or not. I want to see how many people we can get in. Again, I'm not doing it for money, guys. Trust me. Okay. I'm doing it for a community experience because I did do an informal poll of the show. So I want to make sure that we get everybody going there. There's all different sorts of stuff you can pick, including, some individual matchups, whether Juju Watkins will be able to break Kelsey Mitchell's record for most points scored over her first 2 seasons in the first 2 rounds, which number 1 seed will win by the biggest margin, how many upsets there will be in the first couple rounds. Lots of different stuff to pick for the NCAA women's tournament bracket. So please sign up if you can before the end of the show, and you can use your username that you use in the chat, and that will make it easier to track when we do eventually, because it's going to reset every week too. And it's a $10 entry fee, but there will be a lot of opportunity to get your cash prizes and money back, or obviously win cash prizes as far as the way you pick and where you rise on the leaderboard. Tulip Plays says USC being on a collision course with UConn is tough. I wanted them in the Final Four, not the Elite Eight. Bracket done them dirty. SC got an easy bracket. They're the favorites now, but there's no one dominant team. I mean, I'm favoring UConn the way Gino was just like, yeah, bring it on, yo. Let's go. Send us where we got to go. Send us where we got to go. Let's do it. He seems confident. Sally Gainey says if they're crying about seeding, then they feel disrespected or they aren't confident their team can break through. Katie B says, can we see your bracket picks? I'm stuck on some, to be honest. Some games will be really amazing. Send me what matchup you want to pick, and I don't have the bracket in front of me. I haven't filled out a full bracket yet. I did make my picks for the contest. Pope says, I miss the days when coaches just shut up and play and players would just shut up and play. I mean, look, I don't mind people talking. I'm never going to tell anybody to shut up and dribble or anything like that. I don't have to like what you say. So that's not my bag. Because I can tell you I don't like what you say, and you can tell me you don't like what I say. That's fine. But it did seem like a lot of complaining and crying from those coaches. Charles Davis says, sound like scared people. Mark Barnum says, Iowa, when the chips are down, they are dangerous. Yeah, Iowa is a dangerous 6 seed. I would say that, considering the way they've played against some of those other teams. Diana Noble says, great trade for Cloud. And the Liberty are a well-run team. I think that's pretty clear at this juncture. Definitely a well-run team. Andre Rivers says they had the best strength of schedule. Are we talking about South Carolina? Yeah, okay. And they got pasted by two of the other teams that are ranked as a 1 or a 2 seed. And they lost to another one of the 1 seeds. I mean, I know they beat them too, but it's not like they were undefeated. I don't know. I don't think South Carolina's resume is so much better than everybody else's because they scheduled tough. They got beat by some of those teams on the schedule. David S. says Kim Mulkey was a riot talking about SC and all the McDonald's All-Americans on that team. Yeah, I mean, Mulkey, LSU is a sleeper team to me. I definitely think LSU is a sleeper team because they are healthy, or at least they took the opportunity to try to get healthy, but they're going to have all their players available, according to Kim Mulkey. And they have Flau'jae, Williams, and Morrow. Obviously an experienced coach in Mulkey. They're a very dangerous 3 seed in my mind. For sure. Looking through these. Sorry. Trying to get the relevant chats up. Zeal Azik says Iowa's bracket last year was insane. I saw somebody resurface a video of Clark reacting to that bracket to where she didn't seem thrilled by their draw. Oh, McLaren. That was what AJ. When it was all together, it was harder for me to see. Ernesto says he's signed up. Thank you, Ernesto. Can always count on my guy, Ernesto. Again, I'm really honestly doing this for the show and to make sure that, we had something we could do together. The Hoopin Havoc contest, link in the description to sign up. Hopefully you guys have fun. Let me know if you have any issues and I will get them addressed ASAP, of course. What's your name in there, Ernesto? Let me know what your name is so I could shout it out. But the next live, I'll start to, show some of the people that have signed up. And then as the tournament goes along, we can keep track and see who's doing the best. Just a $10 entry fee. Monique Morris says they did Iowa dirty, but they still made it to the final showdown. Yeah, I mean, look, Iowa didn't win the championship, right? Like, we all know that. Caitlin Clark did not win a championship in college. That is a fact. That is a fact. So what? That's the thing I'd say. I mean, are we that broken with our brains that we cannot possibly process the information correctly and understand that what she did was elevate her team, her school, and her sport while individually playing better than anyone had ever played before? That's the part that gets me. Cammy111 says, did the Sun even have a team? LOL. Yeah, the Connecticut Sun that is brutal right now. Brutal. TH01 says, or 01 says, did ESPN do the top 5 for men as well? Curious if the same standards apply. You know what? I'm not going to say for sure because I don't know. And I don't want to say anything for sure when I don't know. But my guess would be no, because they can't put Caitlin Clark's name in the title. The point of that video was obviously to put Caitlin Clark's name in the title, to get people to comment on it because of Caitlin Clark. We can't play like it's almost this like hypocrisy game where we're going to pretend she's a problem, but use her all the time as our solution. And that was the issue there, dragging people along. It was extra, as I would say. Because yes, on the men's side, I mean, who's the name? What are you selling it on? It's not going to drive traffic the same way. Pharaoh X says my Final Four: LSU versus USC, Notre Dame versus the Gamecocks. By the way, please like and subscribe, of course, to the channel. What was I trying? Just take the list off. There we go. Like, subscribe, comment, all those other things. Thumbs up. I've been feeling weird the last couple of days. But, Did ESPN allow you to show up to work and go on camera while wearing sweatpants? Well, I'm not wearing sweatpants right now. I'm wearing shorts. If that's, I have a hoodie on. No, I mean, on the radio? Yeah. I guess, yeah. On TV proper? I usually would dress up a little bit more. But the first time, it's funny. The first time I showed up for the SI show, I was overdressed. They told me to dress down the next day because I wore a suit. And then I figured out like the look that I had for a while, which was a t-shirt under a blazer. But now I don't even know what that looks like because this is my office. This is my office. By the way, that Hoopin Havoc thing, I'm going up against Meta World Peace. His is the men's side. So let's see if we can beat Meta World Peace in entries. A little bit more famous than me. Oh, I'm sorry, Basil. I'm sorry. The idiot that did the greatest college player was wearing sweatpants. That is not a comment about your hoodie. I didn't know. I didn't understand the context. I apologize if I went out of turn on you. How was I supposed to know that? I didn't. Sill says UConn winning it all this year. I'm feeling confident in UConn as well, given Gino Auriemma's attitude. I mean, he don't care where they're going. He ain't worried. He ain't scared. He ain't scared. I loved, Gino said a silly thing about Caitlin Clark last year, but he's a hell of a soundbite. And he's got every reason to be confident right now. Paige Beckers is experienced, AZ Fudd is healthy, and Sarah Strong is an absolute monster. So Gino has every reason to be confident at this juncture. Katie says Caitlin Clark was laughed at for wanting to make it to the Final Four with the team they had. They made it to back-to-back finals. And Diana Noble says the ESPN crew was dressed like the Breakfast Club. But see, are you talking about like the movie The Breakfast Club? Not like Charlemagne and them, right? But seriously, it was pretty lightweight, and I hope they are embarrassed by their CC show later in life. I mean, it is what it is. It ain't that deep and serious, but yeah, it came off a little petty. Just the entire presentation, came off a little petty. And we got it. Erie Cliff says, signed up, Pat Noble. There you go. Thank you, Erie Cliff. I appreciate it. Every entry we will track as we go along here. And looking forward to seeing where people wind up, who joins, how this shakes out. It's fun. I had fun picking it, like no joke. This is a new thing for me too. And I was just, messing around, making my picks earlier, and it was fun spreading it out and seeing which ones I thought were the smartest ones to place my predictions on. Ernesto says, SF Knicks fan 560724. Cool. LBW says, did you have to do extras at ESPN? What does that mean? I don't know what that means, but I will, answer it once I understand it. I don't know what extras mean though. You mean like work beyond my normal work? I worked a crazy schedule for a while, where I was doing the early morning show and I was doing an early morning show 5 days a week and Saturday morning locally. And then Saturday night, I almost shouldn't put this comment on the screen, but I think the joke about extras. But and then Saturday night, a national show. After doing SNY on Friday, I worked some crazy schedules at various points. Sil Colecchio says March Madness bracket. It's not specifically a bracket, but you pick against me on the NCAA tournament, the women's NCAA tournament, link in the description. $10 entry. See if you can pick better than me. Let's get as many people as we can all signed up and ready to go. And keep track. Where was the slow pad comment? Yeah, I talked about this earlier. I don't like playing those games against anybody. I mean, some of those tweets, I don't even know if they're real. If they are real, what was she, 15 years old at the time? I don't want to participate in the same petty garbage that I was railing against. We all get it. We all get that there was savage hypocrisy, right? And there was this idiotic and stupid agenda against Caitlin Clark that was not based in logic and that was overtaken and overblown well beyond what any actual reasonable fan was thinking or what the actual true nature of the sport was, which was the growth of the ratings and the attendance and all that. I don't see any benefit to playing these games. Sil says they're in. Thank you. I appreciate y'all so much, for real. It's always amazing to see, this audience and the comments and everything together. The impartial review. Do you believe CC will become the GOAT? Yes. I think it is nearly inevitable that Caitlin Clark will be considered the greatest women's basketball player of all time. Yes. I mean, honest truth, when I first saw her play, I was like, oh, that's the best chick I ever seen play ball. That was my instant reaction. I didn't think, oh my goodness, look, a white girl. Let me root for her. She's white. Go white. The stupid ass narratives that you see out there. My honest to goodness reaction was somebody had told me, so my boss, shout out to the Casino King, Matt Gothard. He was my boss at the time at SI, and he's from the Midwest. And he was like, you need to do a video on this girl, Caitlin Clark. And so, I went to check her out. And much like it's the same thing with my origin story with LeBron. I'll be cynical and skeptical at times when somebody's overselling something to me. I remember the first high school game I saw LeBron. I went to a place called Santa Fe Cafe at the University of Maryland. And I went to watch, and everybody had said he's the greatest of all time, or he's going to be the next Michael Jordan or whatever. And he's the most hyped prospect. And I was like, I'm going to watch and show you why that's wrong. But then I watched 5 minutes and I was like, oh no, they're right. Because you could see two things immediately about LeBron. Physically, he was as gifted as anyone ever. And then he was also a basketball genius. So you have those two things together. The only other question becomes your work ethic. And he clearly answered that question. Then with Clark, I was told, you got to make a video on this Caitlin Clark and check her out, blah, 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 blah. And I did. And I watched her and I was like, oh, that's the best chick I ever seen play ball. That was my instant reaction to see her play. And it wasn't because she just hit a logo three. Again, just like with LeBron, she sees the floor. She's a genius. As a basketball player, the way she moves, there's a certain level of excitement and engagement. And that's not to say people that came before weren't good. That's not to say that people that are there aren't good. But it ain't Caitlin Clark accidentally led the country in points and assists. It ain't like Caitlin Clark accidentally got to the WNBA, was first team all WNBA in her rookie season, and produced more points than any player ever had before while leading her team to the playoffs and had the number 1 pick in the draft. All that stuff was not accidental. It's not accidental that she captured the imagination of so many people through her basketball abilities. Mostly. Not to say there's not anything else that factors in. Media coverage, relatability, being at Iowa, that fan base, being white, whatever you want to count that, whatever. Not to say that there's not other things that were sprinkled in, but the idea that it was ever anything beyond basketball is the stupidest nonsense ever. Because that's what it was for me. I watched it, I was like, oh, damn. You know? And nobody was saying all this crap until the rookie year and all the hype and the elevation of the sport, really. But yes, to answer your question. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a whole diatribe there. To answer your question, I think it's inevitable. Like Thanos, she becomes the GOAT of women's basketball. I mean, and she's going to be one of the GOATs of basketball, period. David S. says her shooting ability is great, but I was impressed the first time I saw her thread the needle passing. Felt like I was watching a teen Magic Johnson again. Yeah, I mean, like, Magic is special in that regard. For sure. For sure. And I mean, I think it's I think Magic, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, LeBron James, Caitlin Clark. Larry Bird was a great passer. Magic's still a little bit before my time. So if I'm being fair, like the players that I kind of came up watching, Nash, Kidd, LeBron, Clark, have the best court vision I've seen. Going back, of course, Bird and Magic had it too. Tulip Place says Jokic, Luka, and Jokic. Yeah, I mean, Luka has great vision. I wouldn't quite put him on the same. Jokic is a big, maybe the best passing big ever. That's fair. For sure. For sure. All right. Got a few more minutes before I got to roll out of here. Any last questions, comments, all those things? Sorry, I was a couple minutes late. Again, a bunch of stuff came together. I'd put this. It's always like when you set one of these things on the schedule and then stuff hits you. You don't want to cancel your stream, but you got to get the ducks in the row beforehand. Shout out to everybody who's already signed up for the Robin Lundberg Hoopin Havoc tournament contest. Of course, also women's fast break on SI, the latest in women's college basketball, WNBA news all the time. That's linked in the description as well. When you guys are in the contest, you can go to your profile or whatever and edit your username so I can make sure I see who you are and how it relates. As many people as can sign up. Of course, that's appreciated, and it's just fun for us. Honest to goodness, I'm not doing it for financial incentive. I'm just doing it to give us something to follow along with and, have a little fun. Darnell, the playmaker, Salin says UConn is the scariest team in the field. UCLA is rightfully the top overall seed. That's fair. I mean, I could disagree or nitpick, but I think it's fair. I'm so hungry. Not eating today. I'm like, sometimes you get a little disgusted with your physical form. And the best way for me to do that is fast a little bit. And then I forgot I was fasting for as long as I've been fasting. And I'm like thinking to myself, why am I so lightheaded and hungry right now? Oh, you haven't eaten today. That would do it. That would do it, you idiot. Likes, subscribes, please, appreciated. Last chance for a few comments before I sign off for the day. Busy chat today. Always a busy chat, I guess. I think we've cultivated a pretty nice, community here. As I said, we're getting there too. We're almost back to the start of the WNBA season. How crazy is that? Oh, look, we even see like friends being made in the chat here. Tulip says, I value your opinion as much as anyone else's. Don't be harsh on yourself, Queen. And then KDB says, oh, thanks, Tulip. Some of y'all were sort of instigating with each other in the past. So love seeing that. I think hopefully that's a testament to, what I've been able to do here and the forum that's been provided. Anyhow, that will do it for me today, y'all. Please get those likes and subscribes in. Get the signups in for the contest. Link in the description. Robin Lundberg's Hoopin Havoc contest. And check out Women's Fast Break on SI. I will do another 1 or 2 at least lives the rest of this week. Fever in 5, says Tyler. Tulip says, take care. Robin in chat. Diana Noble says, not eating. Should I feel bad that I'm drinking the second half of this stout I poured into the corned beef? Yeah. No, you shouldn't feel bad. You pour it in. Is today St. Patrick's Day? Tyler, when I don't drink alcohol, so there's not to say you can't enjoy St. Patrick's Day without drinking alcohol, but it is kind of the way I came up with St. Patrick's Day. Those two things sort of went hand in hand, or double fist, I guess you would say. Well, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. Thank you as always for joining the show. David S says, better class of people in your chat, Robin, than a few other places I go to chat about women's b-ball. Look, I'm not going to try and feed it. Like I could have, here's an example. And I'm not saying this to make myself out to be, but I could have done a video about Asia Wilson today, or, or put it in the title of this video. I'm just not going to go there. Cause why? Who does that help? So I'm trying to remove the toxicity. Not that I won't talk about serious topics, not that I won't address things that need to be addressed, not that I'm afraid to address anything, because I'm not. But I'm never going to be perfect. I'm going to misstep and maybe do something I shouldn't do, or say something I shouldn't do, or you won't like a piece of content, or whatever the case may be. But I ain't trying to muck it up, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Look, I'm in it to get people to watch me and follow me and click on links. That's the nature of the business. So I will never lie and say otherwise. I'll also never shy away from what got me into covering this and why I'm covering it and what gets a predominant amount of the attention, or any of those things. But I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to I hopefully ever stoop to levels that are beneath me and you as well. KDB says we can like different players and teams and get along until we play each other. Then you're the op. Perfect. Charles Davis with a compliment. I appreciate that. All right, y'all. That will do it for me today. Until the next one. Eat.